Change Radio, the people's radio, changing lives, changing communities, changing ideas. Tune in to Change Radio for all your fresh and undiluted news in isiNdebele, Shona, and English. 5 days a week from Monday to Friday. We deliver an array of exciting yet informational programs such as political trends, padare na mambo shoshe, and gender issues. Also stay uplifted with our spiritual exhilarating gospel bash every Sunday, including a prayer for Zimbabwe, rural voices, sports, and entertainment programs. Well, it's true, you cannot change everything in the world, but you can definitely change your radio by liking us on Twitter, Change Radio, our Facebook page, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, Change Radio Zimbabwe. Visit our site for more information at www.changeradiozimbabwe.com.
Hello and welcome to Change Radio. This is the Political Trends program and I'm Patricia Chinyoka, your host. To get us started, a quick refresher about this program. We discuss trends in politics from a local, national and global perspective, including celebrating successes, discussing challenges faced and hearing inspirational stories about those standing in the gap, fighting for freedom in Zimbabwe, as well as those playing their part supporting the case for change from the diaspora. And we hope by listening, you'll be inspired to take an interest in politics and to participate in some way, for example, through activism around the globe in Zimbabwe, visibility on social media, and getting involved in the political discourse, talking to your friends and family and those within your community, particularly about voter registration and getting ready for 2023. Today, I am super delighted to be joined by leader Concilia Chinanzvavana, who has been at the forefront of politics and been a member of the MDC party since its inception in 1999. She is currently the Deputy Secretary General for the MDC Alliance and a proportional representative MP for Mashonaland West, but was recalled last year, very unfortunately. She has a long political career and we look forward to hearing more about her career. We're so honored to have you with us, Leader Concilia. And we can't wait to hear about your journey, which I know has been dominated by challenges.
All right, my political career, I will start from now. I am the Deputy Secretary General of the party, the MDC Alliance Party, appointed by His Excellency Advocate Leader Nelson Chamisa on the Congress of 2018. I am also the Member of Parliament for Mashonaland West on the Women's Quota, though recalled anyway. And how did I get here? Upon the party being launched in 1999, the structures in the wards were set up in 2000. That's when I became the first Women's Assembly Ward Secretary for Ward 14 Zimba North in Mtorashanga. That's where I was employed. I was a civil servant then, a high school teacher by profession, but I chose to be an activist. And I rose through the ranks to be the district main wing secretary of Zimba North by 2005. After which we went for Congress in 2006 and I became the Marsh West Provincial Women's Assembly Secretary, where I did not stay long as I came to be the Provincial Women's Assembly Chair for Marsh West by February 2007. Up until the Congress 2011, I became Marsh West Rep to the National Executive, where I was appointed the Secretary for National Healing, Integration and Reconciliation, which I later doubled as a Secretary for Social Welfare. At Congress in 2018, the President Advocate Nelson Chamisa appointed me the Deputy Secretary General, as I said. I then got into parliament. I got into parliament in 2013 on the women's quota, served until recalled in October 2019. That's about my political career.
That is really, really amazing. I mean, what a career! It's very commendable, and also to hear that you were a civil servant, but you were driven by this desire to create and bring about change that we all long for in Zimbabwe. So, what else motivated you to become a politician?
What motivated me to be in politics? Yes, I said before, I'm a high school teacher by profession. All my life in the service, I came face to face with the injustices in serving an uncaring regime in the civil service. And it was a pain for me. So I decided to stand up and be a voice for the voiceless in that service. So I resigned before the 2008 general elections to contest the Zimba South constituency seat in the first past the post and be the National Assembly representative. I contested the then finance minister, the then president's cousin brother, that was Walter Chidakwa. I was rigged, and my appeal never saw justice. I then was persecuted for that bold stance to want to stand for my kith and kin in parliament for the Zimba.
The regime is quite a menace to the people of Zimbabwe. To imagine that you were persecuted for taking a stance to fight for the people of Zimbabwe, and also the bold stance that you took to stand against the president's cousin. That is really, really, really amazing, and it just speaks to your strength of character. And I just wanted to find out what challenges are faced within your community, and also how you are helping to solve some of those challenges.
Challenges in my community. Zimba South is partly farming area, peri-urban, as well as rural. There is poverty. The people's means of sustainability is equal to none. There used to be mainly farm workers and laborers for the GMB, Kotco, and other smaller farming-related companies. With the fallen economy, all these were no longer sources of employment. In my community, employment is at 1%. So you can imagine how people are surviving. Hunger and starvation are the order of the day, coupled with the injustices of lack of freedom of association, proven by how a group of us as MDC candidates for 2008 were abducted, tortured, and persecuted in the aftermath of the bloody 2008 June runoff elections. It is not a free society. We have no freedom of choice. We have no freedom of association, especially now that most of the population around this here is unemployed. Then they have to stand by and receive handouts of little packets of food from the government, that is, and that makes them people who are next to beggars.
What we are seeing in Zimbabwe is a shredding of the constitution, the death of democracy, and I'm probably going to repeat this a few times during this discussion. How does somebody remove an elected representative chosen by the people and replace that individual with someone that wasn't chosen by the people? It's lawlessness, as you say, at its best. It almost feels like we are in a jungle in that country. It's an injustice, and you describe it so well. Injustice at its best. It's absolutely unthinkable that this can be happening in 21st century environment. It's an outrage. And so what are you currently doing to keep yourself engaged in politics?
We are carrying on with the party building activities, always with the people and for the people. We don't tire, as we know that given the mandate of the people, even if things go wrong, we do not desert them. We still try to carry on. So we try to do livelihoods projects with our people in our communities, like my own Zvimba South community, being a farming community. Our councillors, when they were in the MDC councillors, at one point they found donors to have community gardens for us with available water for those gardens, and we're still keeping on encouraging people so that at least they have something for sustainability, something to put on the table to carry on with those livelihoods projects. And still we carry on with the party work. That is what we are on right now. Because parliament was never a job, it is to represent the people. We can still represent them while we are here at home, seeing to their needs, seeing to their future and their aspirations, and what can be done to ease their.
Welcome back again, leader, and to our audience. You're listening to the Political Trends program on Change Radio, and this is Patricia Chinyoka, your host. And in this segment, I would like us to talk about human rights abuses on opposition leaders and activists in Zimbabwe, and the impact it is having on women in politics in the country. But I also wanted to just share that global trends highlight that in countries with poor governance and dictatorial leadership, women are less likely to participate in politics. And there are barriers and cultural issues that impact on their ability to participate, and that where they are the brave women that participate, the few role models, the young ones that come behind and might have aspirations to enter into politics are really put off by the persecutions that they witness. And I just wanted to ask you to share your own story about how you were persecuted.
It was in the aftermath of the bloody 2008 June runoff elections. First, we lost our provincial party driver, Joshua Bakacheza, to abduction and murder by the operatives. All the time we were apprehensive and we lived in terror after we lost Joshua in June 2008. Joshua was taken while he was driving Tondera Indira's family from Mavuku to another place of refuge. And it was the last we heard of Joshua, only to be found 14 days later, a decomposed body in a wheat field around Beatrice. It was traumatic. Little did we know all contested candidates in Zvimba South were on the notorious operative hit list. We were abducted and we disappeared for 55 days to December 22. It was injustice at the best of the state, which purport to respect its constitution. We got tortured there while being beaten up under the feet, Falanga style they call it. I was together with my husband, as I said. Father Chiramba, who was 72 years old, he was tortured, put in a deep freezer, and his genitals were mutilated. I was just a young woman then. After breastfeeding my last baby, who was 22 months old, and I was forced to leave that baby for prison. Had it been prison alone, it would have been better. We were kept incommunicado for 55 days in the unknown, being tortured to attest to the false allegations of training bandits in neighboring Botswana. All the time our children, our parents, our relatives and comrades in the party never knew where we were. Imagine for 55 days, and some concluded that we had been killed, and our relatives mourned us alive. It was a fabricated case in which we were accused together with Justina Mukoko, who was purported to have been our founder. We almost served a prison term without trial, for we were at Chikurubi Maximum Prison, the D section for hardcore criminals, from December 2008 to March 2009, when we then got out after getting bail. That was when our then president, Dr. Richard Morgan Tsvangirai, had been sworn in as the state prime minister. Had it not been for that, I'm sure we would have disappeared, and disappeared for good. It was traumatic. It is unfair. It was inhuman and degrading. Injustice at its best. It is still happening today. A group of us, those who contested in 2008, be it for the local government seats, for parliament, lower house, and the upper house, the whole group in Jimba South, we were abducted on allegations of terrorism, banditry, sabotage, and insurgency. You can imagine. It was purported to have been, we were purported to have been recruiting and training youths for purposes of terrorism at a symposium in neighboring Botswana. This was also with our co-accused Justina Mukoko. I think most people know about the debacle of the arrest of Justina Mukoko. She only came upon our issues because I and my husband, who was the sitting councillor of Ward 23 in Jimba South, where he had contested and won, though I was rigged, he was the first accused in that case of 2008 abduction and disappearance.
The greatest gift, just listening to you speak there, Leader Concilia, is that the people of Zimbabwe are so resilient, despite those horrific challenges that you just mentioned that they face. The poverty, the lack of an income, the hunger, the starvation, and on top of all of that, the persecution for speaking out against the regime, the persecutions that people face when they call out the bad governance and the corruption is unimaginable. But we are in awe of leaders such as yourselves that stand up and continue to fight despite these many challenges. And I can also imagine that within all of this, there are wider challenges, such as the medical, people not able to go and get treated when they are ill, people falling out of the education system because they can't afford it, just a myriad of real challenges that people face every day. What we are going to do now is take a short break and listen to some music. So we're going to listen to an upcoming artist by the name of Wiseman Welly with his new song, Mwari Visai Mamepo. And I think that this song just speaks to the challenges that are faced in Zimbabwe.
Tipe Production.
I wise men. We are kumwea umbona matirwa.
God given glory, mambo. Moyo mudina matire. Ndikusemuzo. Okay, moyo mukubaraza. Zisakaiba mukuzviparaza. Ndikusemuzwa, ndikusemukira. Marifisa mamembo, arivanjiri. Sakanamo, yandinayo. Aisezera rangu imi Mwari. Memari. upenyu wachoruwadza kunga mboma aingi kuruwa ugone mboma kuda unenesa ukuboma kuti ndigorowa nemboma ari panjiri saka nawo andinayo aisezero rangu imi mwari vemari sezero rangu mari pise mnyama uri pandiri
mwari wekudenga ndozviziva munokomborera samatenga tenzi munosunungura itai kuti ishe zvimbopombonoka nzira dzangu dzose dzimbotambanuka ndigotenga imba yangu yakanaka ndigotenga mota yangu yakanaka ndigorora mukadzika akanaka wandichazodedza kuti makanaka
ari pandiri saka nawo andinayo aisezero rangu imi mwari vemari sezero rangu mwari pise mnyama uri pandiri nzira yacho iri kuvhundutsa ndakarara ndomuvhunduka vavengi kundimwaira mamepo muna yangu nzira upenyu wacho ruwadza kunga mboma aingi kuruwa ugone mboma kuda unenesa ukuboma kuti ndigorowa nemboma ari panjiri saka nawo andinayo aisezero rangu imi mwari vemari sezero rangu mwari pise mnyama uri pandiri
mwari wekudenga ndozviziva munokomborera samatenga tenzi munosunungura itai kuti ishe zvimbopombonoka nzira dzangu dzose dzimbotambanuka ndigotenga imba yangu yakanaka ndigotenga mota yangu yakanaka ndigorora mukadzika akanaka wandichazodedza kuti makanaka
ari pandiri saka nawo andinayo aisezero rangu imi mwari vemari sezero rangu mwari pise mnyama uri pandiri
Production.
Welcome back again, Leader Concilia. And to our audience, you are listening to the Political Trends program on Change Radio. And this is Patricia Chinyoka, your host. And we're going to continue our discussion. And I think just before we took that musical interlude, we'd been hearing about some of the horrific challenges that the people of Zimbabwe continue to suffer at the hands of the regime. In this segment, I just want us to talk about the recalls from Parliament. How did that affect you, and how has it made you feel?
Not lose hope because of the recalls. We keep encouraging people to exercise their right to vote and do it in numbers so as to make their voice be heard loud and clear. Even if there were going to be by-elections, we still encourage the people of Zimbabwe to go vote for the people of their choice, the party of their choice that they love. And we know that it is the MDC Alliance Party, proven by our president's 2.6 million votes in the last election. I was recalled from Parliament, yes, in October 2020. Nothing else can prove the rate of lawlessness that is the order of the day in Zimbabwe. The constitution is not followed. It is the right of the people to have representatives of their own choice in Parliament. That is why we go for elections every 5 years. But that right is taken away when elected officials are recalled from Parliament to do their representative role at the behest of a non-entity of a party, which in the first place did not second them to Parliament as the wishes of the people were. What democracy is that? It is unfair. It is injustice at its best. When one is voted for by the people, one has a mandate to represent them until end of that term, or as of when they want to remove them themselves. The next vote, if they feel so. But that right of the people was taken away by the recalls, by a different party, if it is a party at all anyway.
It is real leadership to continue when faced with such persecutions as you have experienced over the years, and that what you suffer is because you want to see a better Zimbabwe for everyone, and that is really commendable. And our thoughts and prayers always for those families who've lost their loved ones during this struggle. You are role models indeed and heroes of democracy. And so, what are your thoughts on the continued persecution of MDC female politicians, Honorable Joanna Mamombe, Youth Leader Cecilia Chimbiri, Netsai Marova, who are in and out of courts and their trial started, and all the other leaders, Marco sentenced for 14 months on frivolous charges, the chairperson for the Youth Assembly, Obey Thole. We have the long-term incarcerated Tunga Madzokere, and last Mainge Hama, not to forget Alan Moyo and all the others that are just in and out of those courtrooms. Can you share your thoughts?
The human rights abuses, as they impact on the female politician, human rights abuses are rampant in Zimbabwe, more so affecting the female politician, who in most cases is already vulnerable through the patriarchal nature of our society. Women are looked down upon. You have to prove yourself double what men can do to stand at par with the menfolk. And the political playing field is never level. Human rights are trampled upon. The incumbent regime do all sorts of abuses to instill fear in the people, and worse for the contesting opposition female candidates. If you do not pull your socks up, you fall by the wayside, midway, before you even get to the vote. I, for one, was abducted, tortured, and incarcerated only for trying to stand for my people as an MP in Zimba in 2000. Tunga and last Mayenga Hama are serving for a crime they never committed. Imagine the pain, worse for their families at home, to have the fathers, the breadwinners, wallowing in prison for the things they definitely know they never did. The continued persecution of opposition activists, talk the likes of Marco, Obey Stole, Alan, the young women, the youth leaders, Joanna, Cecilia, and Netsai. Zimbabwe has no rule of law. There is no justice. A lot needs to be done till we realize peace in this nation. We need to rally together as a nation in one large voice so that we get peace and be independent. My call to the nation is, let's speak with one voice as a nation. That voice can as well be going to vote en masse and say no to that which is persecuting and impoverishing us. This is the ZANU-PF regime. Let's say no. Let's say enough is enough. And our voice should be heard.
It is very clear to the whole world that there is no rule of law in Zimbabwe. And what is quite laughable, in a very sad way, because it has a huge impact on citizens, is that the regime tried to blame the MDC alliance for all their challenges instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and stepping down, because that's what's needed now. We just need new leadership. We cannot continue with the current regime. We are now going to take another short break and listen to some more music, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Hanzi kutonga kwaro riko iroro tichitongerwa iZimbabwe setakapara mhaka richitovawo gamba here iri parina dhiri gamba racho kana rakadai hanzi nekuti hamundidi saka imhosva here imhosva rudzi yakaparwa neruzhinji muno muZimbabwe nhai Mwari ofarireipi nhai vananyakutumbura taiti zvavabara nekuyarudza vachafarawo nyambisirwa hoyo mukoka nhamo wezvamusoro kachiri kacheche here vakatura befu vachiti nhamo yemanepi nemapamba tapedza zvakava grade 0 vakati Mwari kudzwai apedza primary level konde neiti kandi ezveravajaya kuguchira muswe wemabhuku negashwe muuro chinhu wavapfumi vakananga sekendari ipapo mufaro mundangariro ndimangwana mudya ndigiri wanga wofemera mugotsi baba vangu namaipuna wee rangu zijaya nechimhandara zvavava pavhasiti kupfeka ngowani dzekugraduata izvo kwani svike ZANU-PF namunangagwa vachinja maitiro nepadivi yataiziva ichinzi education is the key to success yanga yakunzai mutambure kunyange zvainzi chirere mangwana chigukurerawo neutongi hweZANU-PF unorera kusvika pakuyereswa ugorera kusvika pakurera nezvisikuru mapa taifunga kuti dzidzo inhaka yeupenyu ko taizivei kuti ZANU-PF ipapo inoti dzidzai mupuse makambani eZANU-PF ari pamuromo nemumabhuku sehistory kuti dzidzisa zvisipo ndebvu dzerusvava zvava pachena kuti matama enzira ndiwo makambani edu nekuda kweutongi hweZANU-PF hanzi self-employment nhai Mwari kundiko kutipimira panze kunge bhero ihurumende yemuno muZimbabwe chete inoita fundraising nevabereki kubva mwana achiri kucresh grade 1 form 1 kusvika kuuniversity vachizivawo kuti hapana basa ravachamupa kutaura kwese kwandaita apa chinondibhohwa nekundifizura imari dzevabereki kudzidzisa vana masubjekti asingawanisi basa muno muZimbabwe vapedza chikoro tazviona hapana zviripo makumbo enyoka zvino shuviro yangu ndeiyi ngavachingodzidzisawo vana kumhanya kuitira chivhenda mumigwagwa imo mumatama enzira matakavhura makambani ndiyo zveyava self-employment yacho votidzidzisa masasi kuitira chihwindi kunyengetedza vanhu kukwira mumakombi nekujima kuitira chikorokoza nekutakurira vanhu matsagawo mumarodhi vane mari dzavo vanenge vabva kunozvitengera dzabva kunze kwenyika kwete muno muZimbabwe maranzi mapula user kugona kusofta money changer chidofo nekugona kuponda macivilians semasoja chimbavha pamaroad blocks semapurisa chioko muhomwe kutonyoresa kugona kuchengetedza makororo nekusunga vasina mhosva ununzva tunzva saPriscilla Chigumba sisi vatokozani kupe kunge kila zivhu anoda kushandura vadzidzisi kuvaita vabati vehove ivo Jesu vakashandura vabati vehove kuvaita vadzidzisi kunge energy mutodi kuintrodusa rumba mupaliamendi kunge tafadzwa mugwadi akasiya pfungwa muchimbudzi akaisa tsvina mumusoro kugona kupfudza mbudzi nemadhongi paBotswana drill kugona kumira nguva yakareba kuitira kuzomira paqueue yebhengi paqueue yepazupco zvese maqueue muno muZimbabwe kuruka kusvetuka chaiko kugona kujamba kuitira kujamba bhodha takananga Joni unotsvaga marimuka kokwatava kufunga kuti itse must muZimbabwe wese anoda rarama anoendako zvakare toitora seachievement nekuda kwekushaya nekuda kweutongi hweudzvinyiriri unotonga kusvika zvose rashaya kana pekufamba nhai Mwari utsinye pachinapoleon chief justice Lukumalava muzukuru waHitler iZimbabwe yoga ine anozviti mutungamiriri iye ari mutongi anotonga neshamhu ine munyu sanove mamega deals 0 maresult pamasvo mudhololo hanzi 10 plus 440 kana ndimiwo ingakura sei ikonomi yacho musha wese baba mai nevana makoronyera igopona here ikonomi yezimbabwe kuisa makoronyera pachigaro nebackdoor. Uyu wotokozani kupe kungonofidha fishi kufamu kwamunangagwa atova mukuru weopposition mupaliyamendi. Ndiko here kutonga kwacho. Vanoti gudo kuipa haro asi hariji chikafa chega. Inga munangagwa namatema danda vanotya vanhu. MuZimbabwe chete mune mutongi anoba madonations ecyclone idai neCovid-19 pedze zvodla zondo mundege. Ndine hangu Samuel Ukachimbari.
Welcome back again, leader. And to our audience, you are listening to the Political Trends program on Change Radio. And this is Patricia Chinyoka, your host. And in this last segment, we are going to be discussing elections. And I would like to get your thoughts about the suspended by-elections with the excuse of COVID-19. But what we are witnessing is that the regime are carrying on their gatherings, huge, large gatherings. So it's one rule for them and another for the others.
The suspended by-elections are an injustice to the people. It is unconstitutional. People have a right to choose their leaders. Right now, we have so many constituencies without MPs because of the recalls. So for now, they are in a vacuum. They don't have representation in parliament. And now they suspend the by-elections. What of those people who, knowing very well that they voted in their choice of representative MPs, and now they have no way to put their voice to be represented in the House? It is very, very unfair. And we think it has to be lifted, the suspension on by-elections, because it is the right for the people to vote and vote for the party and the MP of their choice.
The only way that we can take power back is by going to vote in our millions. So that voter registration is really, really important. And all those young people who will be eligible to vote in 2023 need to go and register. It is the only time that we have to use our voice at the ballot box and to choose the leadership that we want. So are you encouraging people to go and register to vote? What about those without IDs? How can they get help so they too can go and register?
We are doing all we can to encourage people to still register to vote, because we need to make our voice be heard. There is no other way besides through the elections. Yes, people can take it upon themselves and do other things, but the vote is still there. So we are encouraging our youngs, especially the first-time voter, that we call the virgin voter, those who have not voted before, those who are turning of age. We are encouraging them to see to it that they have their birth records, their birth certificates, their IDs in place, so that they can register to vote. Voter registration is ongoing. It is there in the provinces, in the districts. So we try to teach the people, to conscientize them, to know that this is the time they can be on the voters' roll, when there is no hustle, when there is no scrambling for it, no pressure for it. So people should register to vote, so that when voting comes, then we go and vote in our numbers. Yes, they can rig, but there is how far they can rig. If the whole nation just goes and says no, enough is enough, we are done with ZANU-PF as a regime, we are tired, we don't want this anymore, and speak with one voice. No other push can be bigger than that. If everyone simply goes to go and vote, if there's not even a single vote for the regime, then how can they take it and even rig? So it is upon ourselves to free ourselves. We need a new Zimbabwe. We need independence in this nation. We are not independent at all because our rights are trampled upon. We are not free. We have no right of association. The constitution is not being followed. Definitely, we need a new Zimbabwe.
As we sign out, we are in a crisis and are witnessing the death of democracy in Zimbabwe. The Constitutional Amendment Number 2 bill enacted into law marks another moment of authoritarian consolidation of power in Zimbabwe. Because the current regime cannot govern with consent, they are becoming reliant on force and extra-legal mechanisms. In a normal functioning democracy, any changes to the constitution would involve the people, the stakeholders of the constitution. They would give consent. But this is not the case in Zimbabwe. The people's wishes are trampled on and it's ruled by force. Very sadly, the patriotic bill is underway. This will seek to muzzle the people even further, and we won't be able to challenge or speak out against the regime or hold it accountable for misgovernance. What is happening in Zimbabwe is an outrage. Our country is under siege, and we need to join together to fight this. You too must be outraged. We must all become active upstanders and speak out against this violation of our constitutions. As citizens, we need to come together in unity. Agenda 2021 has a clear call to action: citizens' convergence for change. So we come together to speak with one voice, act and win Zimbabwe for change. There is power in unity. And thank you again to Leader Concilia. And some of the things that she shared today are heart-wrenching. And as I've repeated myself several times, we need new leadership. Voter registration is open. Go and register to vote. The ballot is one of the ways in which your voice will be heard and where you exercise your right to choose the leader of your choice, who will have your best interest at heart and will work to create better opportunities for you. So go register to vote. Thank you for listening. Please do come back again next Tuesday. This is Patricia Chinyoka, your host on the Political Trends program, Change Radio. Goodbye. Thank you so much, Leader Concilia. I think you just summed it up nicely there, that people are tired and we need new leadership. We cannot continue as we are as a country. The people are suffering unemployment, the impacts of COVID-19. There's just chaos, the human rights abuses, the shredding of our constitution. It all has to stop. And so I just want to say thank you so much for having come on this program. And I hope that we can have you back again at some other point in the future.